Hello, my name is William Duval, and today I'm going to be doing my final presentation for leadership. So, to start, I'm going to describe the type of leader I am based on the styles I've learned in this class, and I think I am a situational leader. To define that, a situational leader is leadership that essentially adapts to each circumstance, implementing what's most effective in a given situation. So, working at the newspaper is kind of how I rationalize my time as a situational leader because I was able to implement democratic, autocratic, and laissez faire leadership. Excuse me if I don't say that correctly. I listened to like 3 enunciation videos and I'm really trying, but that's the best I could do. But democratic, I'd always ask the team what time we should have our meetings. At the beginning of every semester, every like few months, I'd send out a availability sheet to where people could put their class times if anything's changed. So I'd send out probably 3, 4 dates and I'd say, hey, which of these 4 can we meet on this given day every week? And we'd all agree upon one. So that's an example of me being a democratic leader. Beyond that example, I also allowed people to pitch their own articles, which is kind of engaging them and keeping them all involved in the decision making process and allowing them to control kind of what's going up on a certain day. It gives them a sense of autonomy over their own work. After that, I was an autocratic leader at certain times because there were times where I had to fire people if they weren't working correctly. There was this one time I had someone submit a whole article. Mind you, this is a newspaper, a publication that they wrote through AI. And it was so obviously AI, so I sent it back. I had to fire them. You cannot publish AI news articles. That's really bad. So that's an example of me being a little bit more autocratic, where I have a firm set of rules, and I'm like, hey, you can't break this rule, or you are fired. And another example of me being autocratic is me having to assign articles when people didn't want to do them. So it'd be like I'd have 3 articles in a week, and if I only had 2 of them scheduled, I need one more writer. I just say, hey, this person, you are doing this article and I need it done by this day, or something bad will happen. Not anything crazy, just like you'll probably be reprimanded or something. And other than that, I also had to assign beats to writers if it wasn't necessarily like their forte. So say I get a new hire that's a basketball writer and they don't necessarily know basketball, or they don't necessarily know swimming. But there's already another basketball writer. So I'd assign them to swimming. I'd say, hey, learn swimming, and then maybe next season you could do basketball, or I'll let you write basketball whenever, but not this very moment. And then finally, to laissez-faire, I was a laissez-faire leader in some aspects because there were writers that we had that wouldn't write for us for a few months. There were times where we had enough writers to have a rotating door of writers to where I could be like, hey, you don't need to be here. Just if you want to expand your portfolio, come here and write. But if you don't want to write about anything, don't come back. Obviously, after an extended period of time, it's a little excessive, but there are times where I had to make that exception for a variety of reasons. So after this, I'm going to discuss whether or not there are any leadership styles that I want to adopt, and I've thought about this. While I think I've done a good job at being a situational leader, I wish I was a bit more of a charismatic leader. Generally, I feel that I'm a pretty monotone person. You've probably gathered this through watching my videos, and I'm pretty calm a lot of the time. And some people like it, some people don't. But in order to be a leader that appeals to everyone, I need to kind of learn how to appeal to all types of people and learn how to socialize in different tones, I guess. That's the best way I could describe it. It's a very much internal battle that I'm having a tough time describing because I feel like that's kind of what I'm lacking as a situational lead. Like, I feel like I could do a lot of things, but charisma, I have it in some aspects, but in others, some people just don't buy into it. And I just need to improve as a charismatic leader. So, to continue on from that, I'm going to reflect on how I plan to use the information from this course in my personal or professional life. And overall, I feel like this course has really opened my mind to the ins and outs of each methodology of like leadership. While in history class you learn about democracy and autocracy and all different government types, you never hear about them in the sense of leadership. And this isn't me like being disingenuous. Like, I genuinely promise. Like, I've been thinking about this throughout the semester, so I'm happy I'm actually able to say this here. This course really made me think about my time as a boss and kind of how I wasn't necessarily a boss. I was a sports director of a newspaper, but I was the boss of a group of people. And it made me think about my time doing that and how I implemented these leadership styles and how I could have been a little bit more of a democratic leader at times, or how I could have been more of a charismatic leader at times. And it made me really see where I succeeded and I failed as a leader, and things I did right and things I did wrong, as I just kind of said. So it taught me that I need to improve, and that this class has definitely helped me a lot. I've been able to identify that my biggest problems were that I wasn't super proactive in expressing appreciation for what my employees did. I constantly had issues with their writing, and I wasn't necessarily the best editor about that at first. I improved over my time, but at first I was a lot more critical, and I didn't like other people's style of writing, and that almost was like teaching me some form of diversity. Well, I thought I understood diversity. In a weird way, their like writing styles have its own diversity. And I had to learn that other people just talk in certain ways, and I can't just change everyone to be a cookie cutter version of me and talk just like me. So all this is to say, I just need to be a more open-minded leader, and that's how I really plan on implementing this in my personal life. I plan on kind of keeping in mind all these principles of how I could be more democratic, or if being a laissez-faire leader would be more important in a certain situation. At the end of the day, we all have things we're better at, and I think I'm pretty good at being a democratic leader. And I could also be autocratic at times because you just need to be in certain situations. But generally, I really like being a democratic leader and getting other people's opinions. So just keeping all these things in mind is how I'm going to implement this class in my daily life going forward and my job going forward. So thank you very much for everything, Professor. This class has been actually really helpful for me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.